Spook, I will let you in a minute. Oh, don't grouch at me. You can't be trusted. He can't be trusted. Hi, I'm Kayla Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I didn't plan on filming this. I have other videos that I wanted to get up and get done, like my 2022 writing goals, shit like that. But it's 7:30 in the morning, and for the gajillionth day in a row, I'm not writing. If you look back at 2021 and my stats, previously, like early in the morning before work on a weekday is the most productive writing time for me, or the most consistent writing time for me. I might not have been at my most productive, but it was easiest for me to get into that pattern and to fall into actually doing some of the work. And I am just not finding that to be the case post-nano. And part of that has absolutely nothing to do with writing. Part of that is that I was in a very frustrating group project for a business communications course I was taking for work, and that kind of turned me into a ball of frustration and impotent rage for like 2 weeks while I tried to manage other people in that group, and that like obviously put me in an emotional space where I did not want to write. But also, like, 50,000 words is a lot more than I can comfortably write in a month. I think with my day job and with my like household responsibilities, 30,000 is probably a more realistic expectation of what I can write in a month. If I'm like writing consistently and I'm writing most days and I'm like at my best, I think that's like a more reasonable expectation from myself in terms of just like my output and preserving the longevity of my consistency and the longevity of my writing. Because something that I find, like not just this year but in past nanos and in general, is that when I have like really high output times, I kind of like, my creative fields lie fallow for a little while after that. My 7,500 word Sunday, the next day I didn't actually write anything. I know in a previous video I said that I thought I'd written only a couple hundred words, but I looked back and I checked and I had written nothing afterwards. And the day after, like the day after I wrote nothing, and then the day after that I only wrote about 1,000 words. And it's just sort of evidence that for me, these really high output days when I really push myself to get the words out and I just like really work at it, it's a creative energy drain on me that takes a while for me to recoup, especially because like this is not the only thing that I do, right? So this is not the only thing that I pour my energy into. I also have just like my boring day job, which is not very restorative, right? I might not be writing during that time, but I am working, and that's taking up energy in my brain, and work can be frustrating, and it's like there's just like a lot of factors that lead into it for me. So I know that for some writers, like high output days and high output months are like totally no problem, and I'm just never gonna be one of those writers. But I don't typically go this long without producing. It's the 22nd of December and I've written very little in December. I have probably written less than 500 words, and I keep doing things that are productive to trick myself into feeling like I'm working. And some of those things are like productive and helpful, but not to the extent that I do them and not to the emphasis that I put on them. So like something that I put a lot of time and effort into is messing with my outline. And I said previously when I was working on Kara and Asher's book that I needed to find a way to rework my outlines to make it clearer what still needed to get done, where I had made changes and when I had implemented those changes, that kind of stuff. So the fact that I found a system for that is like really beneficial for me in the long run, especially because I've been jumping around in my outline and letting myself write whatever scene like moves me. But I didn't need to go in with conditional formatting and color coding and matching the labels in my Scrivener document to the color coding on my outline spreadsheet and like making it fancy and beautiful and perfect. And like I could have just made a column where I said like started, not started, completed, first pass, change the Lee behavior here. I've made a significant change to one of my characters' personalities, and so like I've color coded the scenes in which that change has not yet been applied, and it's beautiful and it's going to be helpful in the revision process later, and it is like a functional, helpful thing. But I didn't need to spend 3 days doing it. I really didn't. And I did spend 3 days doing it, and I poured a ton of time and effort into it instead of actually doing the writing part. And like, yeah, some of that is being burned out from Nano, and yeah, some of that is being kind of like frustrated by my cat needed to be let in and immediately fucked up my tripod. So this changed and it's her fault. But the point is that my outline is beautiful and it's functional. It will be helpful as I go into revisions and as I finish my draft. But making it beautiful does not replace the actual work of finishing the draft. And if you watched any of my Kira and Asher videos, you know that I'm resistant to ending part of the process. It's like the closer I get to finishing one of the stages, be it drafting or revising or whatever, the more difficult I find it to push myself to actually just finish it, to actually just get to the end of that stage. Because it's like I can't focus on just the next step. I have to catastrophize 10 steps down the road. Like, I can't just think, okay, you have 6 scenes left to write, just write those 6 scenes and then you're done. Like, it just becomes this catastrophe of all these other things that I will eventually have to do. And I like borrow problems from months down the road if I'm realistic about how long it takes me to write with my day job. And I need to stop doing that, and I don't know how. It's so frustrating to sit here and know what the problem is and like know where I'm getting in my own way and still struggle so much to get the fuck out of my own way. Like, it's a very frustrating position to find myself in. And that is the thoughts I was having at 7:30 this morning when I realized I was checking my email for the 8th time in 20 minutes instead of actually working on my book. So that's where we're at. It's not perfect for sure. And like, after Nano and the success of jumping between projects, you'd think that I could just like jump into my other project and work on that for a little while and like feel better about it. But because I'm so close to the end of my Hannah and Lee project, and I know that I'm jumping into my other project to avoid finishing, it's not like I'm jumping into my other project because I'm just temporarily stuck and I need to mull through how to work on the next scene. I know that I'm moving to my other project because I am resisting finishing Hannah and Lee. And that makes jumping to the other project not feel freeing, and it doesn't feel like a healthy part of the process. It feels like I'm avoiding my work. Whether it would actually help or not, I don't know, because every time I try to jump to my Broth and Ruin project, I just think like, I'm doing this so I don't have to finish Hannah and Lee. I should be focusing on finishing Hannah and Lee. I'm so close to being finished with their story. Why aren't I working on that? Do I really think that this is gonna help? This isn't doing anything good. I could just finish those 6 scenes. I could just get to the end, and I like talk myself into feeling like I'm being unproductive and like I'm cheating, and that makes it really difficult for me to work on the Roth and Rune project because I have all these like weird feelings of guilt about avoiding Hannah and Lee's book by doing it. So I'm just, all of that to say, I'm feeling really stuck on my project and I don't know how to move forward, and that's frustrating me. So yeah, I don't know what this is, but if you also find it difficult to finish things, if the idea of finishing gets in your way, even when you're not creatively stuck, you're like emotionally stuck, how do you fix it? Like, how do you push through that? Because I find it so fucking difficult to muscle through that. I find it so fucking difficult to like force myself into just finishing it. And that's gonna be a really big problem if I want to write more than one book in my life. So that's the problem I need to solve for myself. So if you have a solution, I would genuinely love to know it, because I feel like stuck and frustrated, and the more stuck and frustrated I feel, the less interested in writing I get. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. If you are looking for me anywhere else, I'm pretty much everywhere as Kayla Amanda. That is Kaylughmanda, and I whine significantly less on all my other social media. Mostly it's just pictures of my cat and selfies and pictures of my mom's garden. So